Hi guys, and welcome back to the Tegiwa YouTube channel. We've got a really exciting video today because we're actually modifying our own cars for once, and we're joined by Matt. As you can see, we've got a couple of Infinity Auto Design boxes in front of us. You want to tell us what we're doing?
Yeah, so we have two carbon fibre intakes to fit today to our own cars, which is great because we've been fitting them to Civics, we've been fitting them to GR86s. They've always been great, and we've had these boxes here for about a month now. Been looking forward to fitting them. Must say, Dave's box is a bit bigger than mine. I don't think that'll matter. I think
It's how you use it, isn't it?
that's right, that's right. So let's have a look at our cars.
I looked at my car.
I looked at my car.
Matt, do you want to kick things off and let's have a look at what you're driving?
This is my 2018 BMW M2 Competition, and because it's a competition, it has the S55 engine, which is a 3 litre straight six with two turbos and a charge cooler. It makes just over 400 horsepower. It's completely standard at the moment, no remaps, no exhaust mods, no nothing like that. So hopefully it'll make something around there on the dyno, and we should see a decent gain out of this Infinity airbox.
First and foremost, we've unboxed it, but thank you for buying an Infinity Design intake.
Thank you.
I'll present you with this lovely certificate that is inside this beautiful envelope. So,
Oh mate, thank you so much.
you are welcome.
Lovely. Anyway, onto the intake. So because I've got two turbos, which is two more than Dave's car, I've got two airboxes. So we've basically got two of the same thing. They just go in different places in the engine bay, as we'll see when we fit it. We also have this really nice crossover piece here that goes just in front of the engine. All of these pieces in the box have come in these nice Infinity bags, which I'll be keeping. Yeah, so we have all these nice clips and joiners, everything that we need to fit it to the car. I went for a gloss finish on the carbon just to match the gloss carbon strut brace that's on the car now. But I know people have refinished that in a matte finish and then gone for the matte finish airboxes, which is another option to choose from. But yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, and we do have stickers as well.
We do like a sticker.
We'd love a sticker. Got some stickers here, and we have some instructions as well. On that we can follow those on Infinity's website. It's the same for the M3, M4, and M2 Competition because they all use that same S55 engine.
Get this one packed away, and then we're going to unbox the big boy. Oh no! The certificate of authenticity.
So I just dynoed my M2 Comp, and it's pushing 427 horsepower and 414 pounds-feet of torque, which is quite a bit up on the claimed figures. And I was talking to Luke, the owner of Tegiwa. He says that we quite often see that on turbo BMWs. They often pull more than the book figures. So that's about 20 horsepower more than it should make. So I'm keen to see if we can get any more out of it once we've got this airbox on. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. We'll pull it out of the dyno, we'll get this airbox on, and then we'll take it out for a spin. Okay, so now that we've rolled and loaded the M2 in standard form, it's time to fit this intake. So we are going to have this carbon fibre brace off because we need to replace this pipe here, and it's going to be a lot easier with this out of the way. So the first thing we're going to do is take these trims off that cover the strut tops and brake reservoirs and things like that. We're going to take those off, and then we can get to the back to the two bolts that are hiding underneath, and then there's another two at the front, and then this whole brace will just slide out and make the install a bit easier. So there is quite a bit going on with this install, with it having two airboxes. So we did make a bit of a joke about the fact that we've got certificates, but on the certificates is a QR code, and we can use that for the instructions, which I'm definitely going to need for this one. So we've got these three 10mm clips here. They just need a quarter turn, 90 degrees, and then there's a little clip here, and then it just pulls up and out. So those are the two bolts we'll be undoing. I think the third one is used on M3s and M4s. This one just has two, and then there's two at the front and then another two at the other side. Okay, so that's those 413mm out, so we're just going to lift this up and pull it out. Forget that, forget that. Right, so that's all 413mm out. We also have this bolt holding in the coolant expansion tank. Now that that's out, we can just gently pull this out. So that's it. It's a cool piece of kit, this. I like this about the M2. Okay, so with this brace out of the way, we can get a better look at what we're actually replacing here. So the turbos are down here. We've got intake 1 and intake 2 for probably intake 1 and intake 2 because they feed the front and then the rear turbo. So now I'm going to have a look at the instructions and see what I need to do. But I know that I'll need to unclip this. There's a breather hose here. We've also got a MAF on each airbox. That's going to need to come out, and the MAF to be swapped over onto the Infinity parts. Right, so for some better access, I've just pulled off the engine cover, like the vanity cover. It just pulls straight off. We've unclipped this charge cooler line from here. There's a breather hose that I've just unclipped, just squeeze that together like that, and I've disconnected the MAF. So this is all one piece. So we're going to undo it from here, and the instructions say to leave this clip in place. So that's what we're going to do, making sure we've got loads of slack, nice and easy to remove. That's that. We've got this little clip here that just needs pinching together, and then this should just pull out. Like that, and like that. It's all in one piece. So this car is quite low mileage. It's only done about 15,000 miles, so everything in here still looks pretty new. It's a little bit dirty because it's not been touched, but the filters still look pretty new. And yeah, so we can see where the airbox gets its feed from. It gets it from just down here, similar to the Dave's E93. It gets the feed from down there, down into the wheel well, and you can see that the other side is going to be similar down there. So the next thing we're going to do is remove this other standard airbox here. So we're just going to take all the OEM bits out. So what we're going to do is just disconnect this MAF. We're going to undo this clip, and then in a similar sort of fashion we'll just be lifting this airbox out. There we go. What I need to do now is basically figure out which side is which. So we have one side which has the MAF housing in this little scoop part, and then we have the other side which has the MAF housing in the crossover pipe here. So straight away we know that this is for this side here. That's how that's going to sit. And so if we just take one of the airboxes as supplied, this is as it comes from Infinity. So we can see that we know where that goes, this little square inlet here. So there's nothing for this bit to go into. So this must be for this side. So this little noggin here just goes into there like that. So this is for the driver's side, which means it needs to be paired up with the MAF housing in the little cone part. So that means that when I take this MAF out, this MAF sensor out of here, I can put it straight into there and know that it'll be the right way around. And this just uses a couple of Torx 20 sockets. So the bolt's out, just gently pull the MAF out of there, and it's got a little arrow on the top indicating the direction of flow. So what we'll do is pop this into here, and then using the supplied 2.5mm Allen key bolts from Infinity, we'll bolt that in. And now I'm just going to get the other MAF out of the other housing and pop it in the new pipe. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to put the passenger side or filter 1, airbox 1 into place. To do that, we're going to need to just loosen this clamp slightly because we need to have this part on top and that needs to be underneath that clamp. So with a 5mm Allen key, we're just going to loosen that off a bit. Loose enough that we can slip it off if we need to. A couple of things need to happen. So these need to go inside these little guides here. So this little bit of plastic should be visible outside of this carbon. And we also need to get this little noggin into place in this rubber bung. Get that clip right out of the way. Get that little noggin into place. That's good, we're happy with that. That fits lovely. The next thing to do is to get this little cone into place. I'm just going to try and slip that underneath the clamp all the way around. And then we're just going to nip it up a little bit, not particularly tight, we don't need it very tight. Just enough to hold it in place so it's not going to fall apart. We still want to be able to rotate it. So when we're tightening this clip up, which we're not going to do yet, but when we do, if you have a look in the instructions, it says to have it at this sort of orientation. So if you look sort of face on at the filter, it's at about sort of 10, half 10 on the clock face there. Right, so the next step is to get this into place, but before we do that, we need to put this joiner, the silicone joiner. So we have 3 lengths of joiner on this. So the instructions actually say to use the one labelled right. Well, we don't actually have any labels on this one, but it's pretty easy to see which one we need because we've got sort of different depths of sort of, you know, connection there. And so we have that one there, which must be the smaller one. We have this side here, which is slightly longer than that, so we'll use the longest one. So we're going to use the middle depth one of that here. So we're just going to pop these in. We're not going to tighten any of these clips up at all. In fact, we'll make them as sort of as loose as we can so that they'll still stay in place. And then we'll get that cross pipe in. So connect that up to the airbox side. I'm just going to put this breather on so that I'm not constantly pushing it out of the way. And then we're going to get it into here like that. Just to give it a bit extra stability, we'll clip that coolant pipe on. So now is where, you know, by leaving this loose, we can rotate this to make sure we get as nice a straight run through there, and we can tell that because there's a nice, you know, it's nice and flush all the way around both sides of this to the silicone joiner here. So now we can tighten everything up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this, now that we know that this is exactly where we need it to be. So we'll just nip that up. Again, similar to the E90, we don't want to over tighten this. We don't want to hear any creaking or cracking. You know, it's going to seal up really nice. Doesn't need to be super tight. The rubber inside on the air filter will do the work for us. What we want to do when we're tightening this up, we see there's this raised section on this pipe here. When we pop that in, we want to make sure that that's the part that it's tightening against. So it'd be very easy to push it in too far, and then it's not actually going to hold anything. So that's it. Again, not too tight on the clips. So let's make sure that that breather thing is clipped on like that. Reconnect the MAF. That is one side done. So now that this is on, it doesn't use this anymore. So with a quarter turn, you can just pull it out. We've got a little oblong thing in there. So don't just wrench it out, you might break it. Give it a quarter turn, pull it out. That's it. And you can utilise this time to clean that bit of the bay you never get to because the big brace is there. So, and the last thing to do is to plug in the MAF. The instructions say to just reroute this connector at the other side of these charge cooler pipes. And just click that back into place there. And then that's this side of the engine bay, airbox 1. Done. Back onto airbox 2, on the driver's side of the car, we're just going to remove this pipe here, this sort of L-shaped 90-degree pipe. just undo that clip there and it should just pull out like that. Okay, so now we're ready to put the driver's side airbox in. So again, just like the passenger side, I'm going to just undo this, just so it's nice and loose enough to slip that cone part on when I need to. Okay, so now I know that I can slip and slide this clamp around, and everything will be able to move in and out as it needs to. Now, similar to the passenger side, these little ears want to go on the outside of this carbon tube, so we want to be able to see them like that. We also have this little bung here that we're going to need to push this little fitting into here. So we sort of need to do that all at once. So I'm going to just offer this down gently, make sure it slots into place on all three. Need a little bit of twisting. In fact, I'll just remove the filter. That'll make it a bit easier to see, because with the filter out the way, you can see down into the airbox. And you can see whereabouts that's going to end up. Right, so now it's time for the driver's side airbox to go in. I've taken the filter out just so I can see what I'm doing a little bit easier, because it's a bit tighter down on this side. So again, we've got these two ears. They want to be on the outside of this carbon here. And we have this clip here. So what I've done is I've just loosened this part here, just so I can get to it, make sure it can be exactly where it needs to be. So we can push that in there, and then make sure we are aligned at the bottom. And with the filter out of the way, we can actually look down the filter, down the airbox housing here, and make sure that we are in position. There we go, like that. So now that that's all in position, we can see it's got a nice little rubber pad in here, just to so that it doesn't vibrate or scratch anything around here. So now what we can do is we can put the filter back in with the clip, and that's it. Just popped out there. I'll put that back in. There it goes, just like that. Okay, so now that the airbox is in, or the filter housing is in, the next thing is to replace this pipe that we took off last. So this pipe here is on a bit of a swivel up here. So what we want to do, according to the instructions, push this back as far as it'll go, slip this on. So this side is already tight. I've already tightened it onto the elbow here. So I've left this other side loose. Pull that down out of the way. And there we go. So that's just placed on there at the moment. And then what I want to do is just make sure that this pipe is in the right orientation. So this pipe here joins up with this one here, so it sort of sits like that. What I want to do is I just want to make sure that it's pointing the right way. So if I just pop that in there, and then that to there, so that's how it's going to look once it's all tightened up. I'm happy with that. So I'll leave that one where it is, pull this one out of the way, and now I can tighten this one up safely, knowing that it's pointing the right way. Now we're going to fit this little rubber piece here. It's the smallest one of the three, smallest one of the two we have left. So because it's so small, we can't put the two things next to each other like that. So just take them, turn them round like that, so that we can tighten them up nice and evenly. We'll just pop that over there, like that. Make sure those clips are on. Don't worry if they slip down, we can get them in a minute. And then we'll get the cone part. I've just flipped this around as well, so we want this on the towards the outside of the car. We want to make sure that that Allen key is pointing up. Comes a difficult task of getting it all together in one piece. Okay, so now that that's all on, we can tighten everything up. Okay, so now that that's on, we're going to tighten all this up. We're going to make sure that this cone part is in and secure. We're going to tighten this up, then we're going to tighten these two clips up here, and then plug the MAF in. Again, once we tighten that up, we really don't need it to be that tight. It just as sort of tight as you can do it up using your finger and thumb. So now all that's left to do is put everything back on that I took off and see what it's like on the road. Okay, that's all the standard bits back on. So we have the strut brace back in, all 6 bolts tight. We also have the coolant expansion tank bolt tight and the plastic trims over the scuttle panel. I just want to point out that we did tighten up this little Allen key down here that holds the mount on to the little noggin there, just to make sure that everything's tight. We've double checked it all. So the next thing to do is see what it's like out on the road.
So we just fired the M2 up, first start after installing the Infinity intakes. Any thoughts, Matt?
I'm intrigued to see what we're actually going to hear from them, to be honest, because it's, you know, intake does not, it's not a big part of this car. I think BMW have almost tried to hide that it's a turbo in terms of noise. You can't, you know, there's a lot of noise pumped in, and the exhaust I think has sort of been tuned to sound quite S55-y, really. It's quite snarly and quite raspy. So yeah, we'll see what difference it actually makes. Oh, you can definitely hear some blow off, can't you? Some
yeah.
I guess the reset valve's really well.
So we're just about to get onto the A50. Nice bit of slip road we can wind it up at. Maybe.
It's like, so I do like to drive this car quick, but I don't know if it's because I'm booting it where I'm not supposed to, but it definitely does feel quicker.
Improved response,
Yeah.
or just everywhere it just feels better.
Well, I mean, it's a turbo, isn't it? So these aren't particularly laggy, but yeah, I think that's the dominating thing, whether the turbos can spool up really, and I think that's more down to the GPFs. I think if you want quicker response, that's what you're gonna have to fit. They just flow so much air that's the, you know, that when it gets back to the GPFs, that's the restriction. But yeah, I mean, it is pretty good. You're not going to notice that response because, like you and I both know, nothing responds like a naturally aspirated motor, does it? Especially on the throttle bodies like yours. But yeah, we can definitely hear it. But dyno says it's a bit quicker. I'll say that much.
Yeah. It's not a obtrusive turbo noise either.
No, you can hear it spool a little bit from inside, more so with the windows down, which you can't do from standard. You really can't hear sometimes you find on a cold day and sort of mid throttle inputs, that's when you can hear those turbos spool up, but it's quite rare. It certainly doesn't happen when you're flat out. So yeah, we're definitely seeing or hearing the increased noise there, and then, you know, when you let off the throttle, you can hear that sort of, you know, that sneezing noise that everybody knows and loves with turbos, but it's more like
it's subdued, isn't it? Yeah,
it's not
not like you've got the biggest atmospheric dump valve known to man on.
It's not like a Cosy, is it?
No. Or Yeah, I was a bit apprehensive because I thought, oh, if it sounds like a Fiesta ST or something, but it's not. It's not like that one bit.
No, it's quite classy, isn't it?
Yeah. Just to let the people out there know, both myself and Matt, we opted for the 6-speed manual transmission because we're both proper drivers.
That's right, it's a driver's car. Do you want to drive it or not? Do you want to drive it or just steer it? Get the one with 3 pedals. That's just written off about 80% of the audience.
Right, switch that off. Ah!
Right, that's the M2 dyno, and we have decent result. We are up nearly 15 horsepower over the standard result. That just seems to be this little bump up here. But interestingly, compared to this morning, we're down about 10 pound-feet of torque. Not really sure why that is. It certainly doesn't feel it on the road. Like I said, that the butt dyno did say that it was a bit quicker, didn't it?
It can be the temperature though, because like we've just seen with the M3, it is definitely warmer this afternoon, isn't it?
It's almost 3 degrees warmer in here than it was this morning, which again will impact that sort of thing. But you tend to see that more higher up, like we did on the V8.
Yeah.
You know, when things are, when the turbos are glowing and everything's roasting hot, you'd expect it to be pulling time in then rather than lower down. But again, like we said, these S55s, one of their big strengths is that you can remap them. Even in standard form, you don't even have to open the bonnet and you can get over 500 horsepower out of them. And that fills in this gap quite nicely. And you can also see where they cap the M2 compared to the M3 and 4. This is your typical sort of M2 graph, or the comp graph, sorry, where it just sort of gets to about 6,000 RPM. It's already making well over 400 horsepower, and it just stays there. It doesn't keep pulling. Whereas I think if you were to have an M3 or an M4 with this intake, it would keep going, wouldn't it, in this dyno?
It's an amazing engine, really, isn't it?
It is really impressive. Let's get them outside and wrap up.
Yeah, put coat on. So to sum things up, we're very happy with our Infiniti intakes, aren't we, Matt?
Absolutely, yeah. It's funny how different they are, really. I guess it's because of the different styles of the engine, but I think this wins the noise category by far. I think just by design, this sounds a little bit more subtle. The turbos muffle things in general, but it definitely adds to it still. It does still sound better for those intakes being fitted, whereas this thing is really nice and snarly, isn't it? Yeah. Especially with the roof down, you can really appreciate the snarliness of that bonnet vent you've got.
So one thing we need to address, I think, is the price point, because I see on the Facebook groups all the time, oh, it's mental that you'd ever spend that kind of money on an intake. But when you think about it, this was a 60 grand car new, there or thereabouts. Matt's, yours was probably a 60 grand car new.
Yeah, I think.
So 1,600 quid, and that's roughly what they retail for, both these intakes. Yeah. It's relative to the car, isn't it?
You also have to remember that this is a naturally aspirated car that's already at 100 horsepower per litre. This is a turbo car that's getting on for 150 horsepower per litre. You need to realise that it takes a lot of time, a lot of research, a lot of trying and failing with different revisions. We see, we've worked with Infiniti here at Tegiwa to develop a few kits, and we see revision 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It takes a good bit for them to finally end up at a product that they're happy to put their name on. The fact is that the factory induction kits on both of these cars are very, very good. And also because of that, because of the fitment quality as well is brilliant. So as as someone who works on the spanners, that is very good for me. The thing is that everybody sort of knows that. You get the higher end of the market like these and other brands that are sort of similar, and they hold their money, don't they?
Oh yeah, you're only going to lose probably maybe 20 to 30% max.
Yeah, if that. They're always going to be worth good money, and they're always going to be really sought after.
For sure. And you've got your certificate of authenticity.
Absolutely.
Show it's real.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Infinity Design catalogue is available on Tegiwa.com. If you think they're expensive, we do offer finance options, so take a look at them. And to be honest, since I've fitted it and driven it, I've not thought about the price once.
No.
So
No, absolutely not.
It doesn't matter. You can get them in gloss and matte finish, depending on your preference. I'd like to thank Matt for once again joining us and taking the time out to spend the day with us at Tegiwa, for fitting my intake, doing the dynos, and generally being a good guy. And yeah, thank you for watching. Any other videos? Matt's obviously got his M2, I've got my M3, so any more parts you want to see tested, let us know in the comments and we'll try our best to do that.
Yeah, I'd love to fit some more bits to this for sure.
Yeah, so like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time around. Thank you guys. That's high five, Matt. Oh, that is a connection.